Hi, everyone. I have beautiful chocolate with me tonight, and I'm getting a signal that he may be covering up my audio, but I wanted to see if I could have him hold on while I try to get my microphone for a little while, because what happened today, we had tremendous rain here. It was like July. Big rainstorm and then clouds, blue sky, and then a big rainstorm. And it was more like summer than November 6th. And this little guy and his sidekick and brother, Fluffy, who seems to know the rhythm and times of Wednesday nights, and depending upon his mood, he either comes to get in my lap or he scuttles away. But what I wanted to share with is, as he's calmed down now because I've got the microphone now out, it was one of those wonderful moments that you don't get much, it seems like, in life these days, where it was like a summer rain outside in November. The sky had a sort of patches of blue and white clouds, with this fog like in San Francisco going across the Sandia Mountain outside. And Chocolate was asleep on my scanner right next to me, and Fluffy was on another machine, and we had that kind of cozy feeling that maybe you all once upon a time had when you were kids and it was raining or snowing out and you were playing with your best buddy pets, cats, dogs, and life and the earth just seemed perfect. And for a little while this afternoon, it felt like that. And I thought I just wanted to share that with this wonderful audience. I am beginning to recognize some of your names. I'm learning to love the spirit of you. You are such brave and courageous and profoundly feeling and empathetic people. And even if we don't meet in the matter world, we're meeting in this digital world and the spiritual world and the exploration world and the curiosity world. And I'm just so glad to have you here and that I can hold dear Chocolate and Fluffy. Fluffy, I can pretty much guarantee he'll show up and you'll probably see the tip of his tail at some point. And just remember those moments of peace in life when everything seems perfect to get you through the rough times. Now, one of the things that has been happening on this planet that kind of fits into a category of both unknowns and abruptly shaking people literally in their homes, out of their beds, the opposite of what I was just describing that we experienced this afternoon in the peace of the rain. And I have been working for the last 3 to 4 days on a big, huge Earthfiles report. It will be probably twice the amount of material that I'm going to share with you tonight. And I'm not posting that until tomorrow. And that's because I want to have tonight to share this with you. It is independent research of mine, and Peggy has done a very interesting poll that I'll be talking about in a few minutes. And so for those of you who are subscribers to Earthfiles.com, my news website, in addition to I hope all of you are subscribing to this Earthfiles weekly live stream. But for those of you who have been with me for a long time on my news website that goes all the way back to 1999 and up to the present and evolving, I have almost 2,800, 2,900 reports there now, very in-depth. And for those of you who send me letters saying that you appreciate the length that I go in a lot of my reports, I appreciate it. because I realize this is an age where, for the most part, everybody wants digested pieces. Well, I think you will find that the report that will be posted tomorrow as the top report at earthfiles.com, www.earthfiles.com. Tonight, I'm going to do a special report for you, my Earthfiles live streaming audience. And I want to go back and just set the stage to January of 2011. That was the beginning of my getting reports about strange sounds on this planet. And at that time, in January of 2011, the majority of the reports starting that month and going maybe for 2 or 3 months before a bunch more started being reported was booms, explosive booms. Now, from January 2011 to right now, November of 2019, there has been an evolution. It's become around the world, and the categories, as I have described, they fall into these categories. The unexplained explosive booms that people who have fought in Iraq, in Vietnam, have told me that when they have heard one of these booms, they said it's just like some kind of a military bomb going off. Scares them in that way. And that people also report eerie metallic scraping sounds, trumpet sounds that are sort of metallic, as well as strange, loud, like you're hearing a huge jet, only it's 40 feet above you. That's what people say. It's right above you, so close that they think their house could fall down. And that this loud jet engine sound is being reported by people who are being waked up at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. No military traffic, no civilian traffic. And they think a plane is either crashing into their house, and they run out onto a deck, or they run out into their yard, and they're looking up into a clear, starry sky, and there's nothing. But the sound is still there. So this is why headlines like this one pop up periodically. Quote, "Did you hear that? Weekend explosion and jet engine noises a mystery," followed by similar reports state to state and country to country. What was that noise? Over and over. News reporters track down police, scientists, and other authorities, but no answers. Everyone is baffled. Some people even say they saw a flash of light in the sky at exactly the time of the strange sounds, but no one knows what the light flashes from. This year of 2019, on August 14th, I did an Earthfiles YouTube channel broadcast, followed by an August 16th Earthfiles news update with maps entitled "Strange Jet-like Sky Sounds, but No Planes." That's when I reported about highly strange jet-like sounds heard by a current Boeing company production facility employee in Everett, Washington. Everett is near Whidbey Island, where over the years there have been several UFO and animal mutilation reports. And now, this fall, 2019, I have been receiving more similar reports about loud jet-like sky sounds that in some cases pulse on and off in seconds and minutes, leaving ear witnesses baffled and upset about what is happening. So tonight, I want to share with you what our fellow citizens around the United States and the world are experiencing, even if authorities are silent. My hope is that there are military and aerospace whistleblowers out there with insider knowledge who would be willing to get in touch with me confidentially, and that they might know something about what is happening to produce these strange jets right over your head sounds where residents insist there are no signs of civilian or military air traffic. I'm going to start with an email that came yesterday, November 5th, 2019, from a resident of Bloomfield, New Mexico, only about 8 miles south of Aztec, famous for the late 1940s crash of a 99-foot diameter round silver disc. Bloomfield is also only 71 miles southwest of Dulce. And Dulce, New Mexico is famous for whistleblower accounts of a deep underground multi-layered alien base where genetic experimentation has allegedly gone on for centuries by something unknown. The Jicarilla Apache in Dulce are reluctant to talk about what they call the Star People, that they say built the deep underground base centuries ago in Dulce's Archuleta Mesa on the Colorado-New Mexico border. Dulce is 123 miles northwest of Los Alamos, the historic laboratory that developed the World War II atomic bombs that the U.S. dropped on Japan in August of 1945. The Bloomfield, New Mexico resident who emailed me lives about 180 miles northwest of Los Alamos. Here it is. Hello, Linda. Today is November 5th, 2019. It is 3:05 p.m. in New Mexico as I write to you, and it was only about 20 minutes ago that I had been watching a YouTube video with a pair of headphones on. And then I realized I could also hear a super loud plane jet noise coming from outside. I was confused by this because the volume on my headset was quite high. So I went outside and the noise had gone on for about 5 more minutes and then ended up going away. I live in Bloomfield, New Mexico, and I had a full 360-degree view of my surroundings without seeing a single plane in the sky. After this, I immediately did research, and your recent Earthfiles news report, he's referring to August, was the only one that I found with a similar story. Do you guys have any idea what this was? I just thought you would like to know others are hearing the loud jet-like noise right now as well. Take care. Now, Stuttgart, Germany. That's about 130 miles southeast of Frankfurt. And Stuttgart is the 4th largest metropolitan area in Germany. And since 6000 BC, Stuttgart has been one of the most important agriculture regions. And here's what he writes. Hello, I'd like to stay anonymous. Today, Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, at around 4 p.m. Germany time, I experienced the exact same phenomenon you are reporting. I live in the southwestern part of Germany, directly in the flight path of Stuttgart Airport. But suddenly I heard a really loud noise, like an airplane in full throttle, almost as if a military jet would fly right above me. I checked whether any planes took off at the moment, but there were none. Also, I could not see a single airplane or similar flight object near me, even though the sky was clear. It seemed like an invisible, loud jet sound just flew over me very fast. This whole issue of invisible craft in our skies is at the bottom of this, I think, and that's Linda commenting. He continues, could it be connected to the experiences in Everett, Washington, and San Diego, Linda, that you wrote about on August 16th, 2019 in your Earthfiles.com news website? Best regards. Now, to Raleigh, North Carolina. That's about 168 miles from Charlotte and 120 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. October 12th, email, quote, I went to bed and all I could hear were noises like jets or airplanes in the air or like the sound when you hear jet washers against a house. This morning I am still hearing that sound as we speak now. To verify it, last night I called my family into my bedroom and they heard it too. I never experienced anything like this. What can it be? I mean, I actually thought we were under attack. And then I look into the sky and see nothing. Very scary, unless we have sent out our military to help Turkey, close quote. Jump to Lone Tree, Colorado. It's a suburb about 18 miles southeast of metropolitan Denver. The Lone Tree, September 29th email said, "Dear Linda, thank you for the interesting articles you've written over the years. I enjoy learning from your investigative work and reporting. I too am an investigator, though from a different spectrum of the government. I want to tell you about an experience I had around the first week in September this year of 2019. You reported on something similar August 16th, 2019. I apologize for not documenting the date and time, but it was late evening, maybe 10 p.m. Mountain. I was in my front yard in a suburban neighborhood in Lone Tree, Colorado, and I heard what sounded like a military-powered jet engine at full power for about 5 seconds. Then it would abruptly stop. The noise would start again every 5 seconds, then stop again 5 seconds, continuing like this for a couple of minutes. If you've heard the 2011 to 2013 trumpet sounds in the sky, this was similar to that except for sounding like a jet engine, instead of the trumpet. I am still employed by the U.S. government, but I am retiring soon. Yours truly." Now we jump to Washington, D.C., to a suburb called Lexington Park, Maryland. This next email came from a Lexington Park, Maryland resident who is 69 miles southeast of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and about 50 miles southeast of Joint Base Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. The subject line states, quote, "Strange roaring sounds right above my house last night," close quote. "Hello, Earthfiles. Last night on August 27, 2019, at about 9 p.m. Eastern, I was startled by unusual loud sounds that seemed too powerful to be jets. I live in Lexington Park, Maryland, 2 miles from the Fox River Air Station. I have watched and heard jets fly in the sky above my neighborhood regularly. But last night, August 26th, was nothing like I had ever heard. It sounded like an engine roar, but was decimals higher, and the sound did not decrease or increase as a jet would coming or going in the sky. It was a stable, continuous roar that stopped and started 4 times with only a few seconds in between each roar. The sky was super cloudy. I did not see anything during the roars. It sounded as if each roar changed positions, creating a square shape in the sky. So I knew that if a jet was flying closer to the ground than normal, it would not be able to turn sharply in 4 directions so quickly. The sound went for about a minute. This was very strange. I did not call the Fox base. Very, very strange. Next, it is an August 20th, 2019, 7:30 a.m. Pacific email with the subject line, "Loud jet engine sound, nothing in the sky over Westlake Village." Westlake is 16 miles north of Malibu on the Pacific Ocean near Santa Monica and Los Angeles, California. Hi, Linda. I searched for reports of the sounds that I heard this morning around 8:30 a.m. August 20th, 2019, and your Earthfiles popped up. I feel I know you from the Art Bell days in 1990s Dreamland and Coast to Coast AM when you were an investigative reporter for radio host Art Bell. And now to what I heard. This morning I was outside and thought I could hear a jet making its way for LAX, which would be the Los Angeles International Airport. I live in Westlake Village, a suburb of Los Angeles, and it's in the glide path for flights into LAX. What caught my attention was how loud the sound was. It actually shook the air. I looked around expecting to see a 747 unusually low, making some altitude adjustment because the engine sounded wide open. But there was nothing there. Within 15 seconds, the sound trailed off and was gone. 2 or 3 minutes later, I heard the exact same sound with the exact same intensity. I didn't time it, but the rumble would last 15 to 20 seconds before subsiding. After that second time, I really focused in my thoughts, and it reminded me of a rocket engine test. We are about 15 miles from Teradyne's Northridge facility, but I thought they quit their rocket engine test program years ago. I continued to hear what I now believe was a rocket engine going on and off 10 to 15 times. My neighbor heard it also, but he didn't have any explanation either. The sound I heard was not moving. It was just loud and shook the air. The direction of the sound, if I had to bet on it, was in the opposite direction of Teradyne. I know sound does bounce. I hope my relating my experience on this date now helps piece the puzzle together. Now we're going to go far to the southern hemisphere, going south to Queensland, Australia, where about 535 miles north of Sydney is a place called Runaway Bay, and it is on the Coral Sea. A couple of months ago, on August 19th, 2019, I received this email. Hi, Miss Howe. After just reading your Earthfiles reports about jet engine sounds with no visible craft on the west coast of the U.S., I thought I would share my own recent experience of the same kind. I live in a high-rise apartment with an unobstructed, approximately 280-degree view of the sky. The address is in Runaway Bay, Queensland, Australia. On Saturday, August 10th, 2019, we heard a loud jet engine sound which did not pass by as it should. After several minutes, we went onto the balcony, but could not see any planes or vehicles at all. Conditions were clear and cloudless. The jet-like sound was very loud and constant, as if a large commercial airliner were just hovering in the same spot. The volume and pitch remained constant for more than 10 minutes before suddenly stopping. The sound was distinctly coming from the sky, definitely not from the ground or nearby water. I've never heard this before or since, and it is both puzzling and fascinating. I hope this helps, but I want to be anonymous to the public. Thank you. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we got past the point of people wanting to be anonymous because they are so afraid of being ridiculed by their fellow human beings, governments, power brokers? If only we could just talk about all of this out in the open. But I'm so grateful for all of you who have sent me these emails, and that there are twice as many at my earthfiles.com report that will be posted tomorrow. And adding to the frustrations about this mystery is the fact that in this cell phone age of quick videos with audio, so far no one has gotten a recording. So I hope all of you will start listening for any bizarre, possibly pulsing loud jet or other strange sound. Whip out your cell phone and try to record it. And then send me a copy in MP4 video or MP3 audio, and I'll share it in one of my Earthfiles YouTube live streams for everyone to hear, whether you want your name on the record or you want to be anonymous. I'll share it either way. Now, Peggy has produced a poll today for this broadcast that asks, quote, "Have you heard strange, unexplained, jet-like sounds yourself? Did you report them to anyone, authorities, neighbors, friends?" Here are our poll results from about 1,500 people. 3% of you said you reported the noises. Good. Glad. I'm fascinated that 3% of you are there in the yes, I've heard it column. 16% of you told friends and or neighbors when you did hear something. 15% of you heard strange noises but didn't tell anyone. And we all understand why people don't, but we're trying to get past so everybody can tell honestly what it is they're experiencing. 6% of you have not heard strange noises yourself, but you have friends or family who have, and 59% of you, over half, said, quote, no, I haven't heard these strange noises, close quote. Well, it interests me that some of you do say you have heard some of these baffling sounds, whether you have reported them, and let's try to make Earthfiles my news website at earthfiles.com and my Earthfiles Wednesday night YouTube live streams. Let's try to make this a safe place for all of you to report high strangeness to me in comments here at my Earthfiles YouTube channel, or in all of the social media, or in emails to earthfiles at earthfiles.com, or by handwritten or typed letters in the mail. And by a safe place, I mean you can communicate to me, you can send me illustrations, audio, video, and if you want to remain anonymous, you know I will never violate your name or your location. But I need locations in order to go around the world map to know where things are happening. So never hesitate to give me your name, even your latitude, longitude, and your address, even your phone number. And if you say I want to remain anonymous, I will never say anything except the location, male or female, or just a location. And that is as I honored the people who requested anonymity tonight, but I was able to report their full reports to me. And if we could all do that together and feel safe, maybe we could start really learning even a lot more and get past people being afraid of being judged. And now, Peggy, let's start with the questions that we have tonight.
Hi, Linda. First, I'd like to say happy birthday to Natasha Conrad.
Happy birthday, Natasha.
And I'd love to thank a couple of viewers for their super chats. Tobias, Len, Vicky, and Talia, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Everything helps to try to keep all of this going forward. So I really appreciate it. And now, what about a question?
We have a question from Will, and he wonders, with all that you know about Art Bell, how do you think he would react to the Tic Tac UFO information and everything with the media growing and reporting more about UFOs? How do you think he would react?
He would have called me, and in that deep, unique, extraordinary, wonderful voice, he would have said, Linda, it's happened. And I actually got a phone call very similar to that from one of his very best friends, Whitley Strieber, going back to that December 17th, 2016 headline, New York Times, Politico, and Washington Post. I had just gotten to my computer. It was actually pretty early Saturday morning. And I was seeing for the first time, because I had been asleep, and I'm opening up emails, and it's the Navy, UFO pilots, UFOs, da da da. And I'm sitting there reading with excitement, and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was Whitley Strieber, and he said, Linda, it's happened. And what he meant is what those of us who have seriously investigated for a long time, and Art would have been definitely in that category. He was there in spirit with us that morning when Whitley called for sure, is we all have talked about together, one-on-one or in groups when we've been at conferences, those of us who have written books and done documentaries and so forth, is what will it take to leverage open what we know is the truth, that we're not alone in this universe, and the remote viewers say it's teeming with consciousness, but apparently can be invisible or can choose how it wants to interact. And thinking of invisible, which Art and Whitley and I have talked about at great length at various times, invisible technology. I think that's part of, or maybe a big part, of what is behind this phenomenon now that people were reporting as recently as yesterday, that something can be like right outside, loud, shaking floors, making people afraid, and they can't see anything. Well, the next question is, has the United States government been able to back engineer from extraterrestrial technology invisibility like that, and they're testing it? Or it's somebody else's intelligence? Is it AI? Is it something real? Why is it occurring? Why are we being, I'm going to say, taunted, flaunted, provoked, arrested in our tracks by strange sounds that started? They definitely had a beginning in January of 2011, the explosive booms. And as these years have gone on now to end of 2019, there have been waves of these sounds. They have been all over the world. And there's no answer. And perhaps one of the most puzzling, because it's so obviously weird, Homeland Security in the United States, which is supposed to protect us at airports and all sorts of places from possible terrorist attacks. I don't know of a single one of the boom, trumpet, explosive, scraping metals, or these jets right above people's heads and they can't see anything. Police have been called on a lot of these strange sounds. Scientists have been called. Seismologists have been called. Mining operations have been called. All kinds of people. And nobody has an answer. Seismology even, that's lacking in any kind of seismology track where there have been these explosive sounds, and nothing where the loud jet noise either. Again, coming back full circle, what is the reason behind all of these aberrant, bizarre, loud, strange sounds in both hemispheres going on for a decade? And why wouldn't Homeland Security have immediately come in to some of the places that have been, where there have been cities, like on the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Southeast, where there have been police. Police have been called in by TV stations who started getting reports from people saying, it sounds like a bomb just went off outside of our neighborhood. One place, foundation of a house cracked. Another, a police officer, the sliding door of his garage came out of the track. I reported that. It was in Georgia. I reported that a few years ago. The police go looking for what could cause physical force that cracks cement, could knock a garage door out in his own home, and they can't find any physical evidence at all. And then, what are the strange flashes of light that white out security cameras occasionally and are associated with exactly near before or after the explosive sound or the metallic sound or the trumpet sound or whatever, the jet sound, whatever it is. So for those of you out there who may be in a whistleblower category and might have some real knowledge, and you can get it to me through FedEx or hard mail or ProtonMail. I communicate with people in ProtonMail successfully. I sure would love to know what is possibly the secret knowledge of authorities that actually would explain why Homeland Security doesn't show up because somebody is telling them, no, we have this covered. We know. What do they know? What is being tested? Who is doing the testing if they're tests? And if they're not tests, what is the purpose of all of these varieties of loud sounds at 2 o'clock in the morning over a Canadian forest where people were living in a house that was 2 miles from the nearest town? And they had this huge noise right outside of their deck window. I remember that. They were terrified and they couldn't see anything. So I look forward to hearing from those of you who have firsthand experiences and possibly, I hope, whistleblowers. And as this evolves, I'll report where I have something that I feel has facts and something underneath to support whether it's eyewitness or documents or audio or video or whatever. And I hope you will all start spreading around the world to everybody you know in all of the countries that are listening. You want to learn facts about high strangeness and the unexpected evidence that other intelligences are interacting with our planet now. Tune in to the Earthfiles YouTube channel on Wednesday nights. Go to Linda Howe's Earthfiles news website, earthfiles.com. Tell everybody, Earthfiles, it is the key. It is the key to staying connected with as much fact as I can possibly bring to bear on these mysteries that seem to be increasing everywhere on our planet. And I'm so glad so many of you want to get to the bottom of it like I do. So Peggy, what about another question?
There's another great question by Bubba, and he asks, are there any in-depth DNA results that they've been able to compare that to people who claim to be hybrids?
That is an excellent question. I have a file folder about exactly that question. I have been trying to get, I guess what it is, let's say 2 categories. I have talked with a geneticist who is prominent, who wishes to remain anonymous on this subject, but I can say with my years of journalistic work behind me that this particular geneticist says, yes, they are actively looking for ET, Homo sapiens sapien hybrids on our planet now. And they have found them in that category. What happens with that information, I think, is that it remains anonymous as long as the human, non-human hybrids request anonymity, just as I give any and all of you who ask me. I want to share information, but I don't ever want to have any consequence to somebody who doesn't want to be public. And that would be the same with the medical profession, must do that at all times. But it's confirmation. We're all needing confirmation on all these subjects. There are hybrids in the category of non-human and human, and I wish that I had and could give you the entire genome. I wish I could break it down in genes. I wish that's the level at which things can be made public. Now let's jump over to another category. Barbara Lamb, an excellent hypnotherapist. She has been working with people. Now, Whitley, Bud Hopkins, Jacques Vallée, Art Bell, we evolved using the term the human abduction syndrome. I understand that some of you who are in the abduction, have had abductions, would prefer that I use the word experiencers. And so starting tonight, I'm going to try to make my mind flip over to that. And that experiencers would be the word that human abductee and the human abduction syndrome has described since the 60s, when Leo Sprinkle at the University of Wyoming started studying missing time, and Bud Hopkins was on Fire Island investigating missing time there. Bud wrote Missing Time. Dr. Leo Sprinkle was really in the trenches with college students and others, and didn't produce a book about it like Bud did, but Leo Sprinkle was there working from the 60s on. They came up with that phrase, the abduction syndrome. So today, at the end of 2019, let's say experiences that appear to fall into the category of some sort of consciousness interaction between humans that we still look at as Homo sapiens sapien, and humanoids that look like our population, that you can't tell them apart at all, that's as I understand it. But that at the genetic level, that there are human-looking beings on this planet, whether here camouflaged, doing work and masquerading as humans, or whatever the many categories might be, and that there are people in our government and in universities who are trying to study and understand what's happening. Barbara Lamb, in all of the work she's done, and she is the author of a book that came out a couple of years ago, Meet the Hybrids. I have met a couple of her subjects in that book, and one is an extremely impressive man that Ancient Aliens and I and Barbara, we did a fascinating subject I think it was for this current season, about 3 months or so ago. And it was very interesting to sit and talk with a very intelligent person, very empathic. He is very empathic. And to have him describe the experiences that he has had interacting in what in the past people would have thought were terrifying experiences, he looks at as an interface between a non-human intelligence and us, and getting used to what the non-human intelligence does. And further, I guess I was surprised that during a 90-minute hypnosis session that we did on camera for Ancient Aliens with Barbara Lamb and me there asking him questions, that at one point the experiencer said that he was convinced that the bottom line on everything with the intelligences he interacted with was his soul. And he described in poignant detail what he thinks is the truth, that in this universe, perhaps produced, a holographic created universe, perhaps produced to be a high university for the training of souls, and that the way the training must go is to have the perpetual yin and yang. That's what I've talked about here over the last 3 years. The perpetual yin and yang that would explain why on this planet and anywhere else through the universe, that if we knew the truth, there would be the positive, the white, the light, and love in battle with the opposites everywhere. That might explain why remote viewers say that they have run into consciousness in controlled remote viewing that they knew was hostile to the point of wanting instant annihilation of us. And that experiencer who describes himself as a hybrid, he may be sort of opening up the door to the notion and the concept that there are other intelligences that have helped the evolution of life on this planet, who have tried to protect us, who may have stood in front of evolving Homo sapien and now Homo sapien sapien and projected light, manifested matter, neutralized gravity and lifted up stones for pyramids. And they went into the category of a god. And maybe what the revolution is about now, whether it's going to happen in total in the 21st century, but maybe where this is headed is that if we survive ourselves and climate change and our own fighting each other with weapons, is that the so-called gods, the trainers of souls in this universe, they may be revealed as the players with us in a holographic universe designed and projected from another dimension to do one thing: to try to teach, strengthen, and evolve what is really the primal. It's the primal aspect of the life force. Because how would we see death if the life force didn't leave? And that in this new view that we are getting through people like this man in Barbara Lamb's book, Meet the Hybrids, that we were able to do that hypnosis, who is an extraordinary, extraordinary person. We are getting this glimpse that what could come if we survive our own self-destructive tendencies would be that humans will evolve further with the help of hybrids. That is Barbara Lamb's contention. That is the contention of the hybrids, that they are necessary to try to help accelerate the evolution of our body, mind, and spirit in order for humanity to continue to evolve. So when you look at the past and the present and the future through that lens, it may be, if we can get through the stage in which climate itself could become the biggest problem on our planet, if we could get through this stage, it might be the most exciting time that human minds and hearts and souls will ever have experienced, is to finally meet who made this universe and why. And that's what I try to hold in front of me as I do all this difficult work, because you could get weighed down, bogged down, and depressed by animal mutilations and some of the things that are done in abductions or with experiencers, and with the whole issue of why is there any dark force at all? I'm always baffled by that. In many ways, I'm a 2-year-old child looking at the universe and saying, why aren't there just angels? Why aren't there just good angels? Why isn't everything, everywhere, peace and love and light? And it always comes back to, because our souls are in training. So hang on to that. That's got to be maybe at least part of this, and that's what some of the experiencers who call themselves hybrids say. Peggy, how about another one?
We have a question from DBS. He's wondering, do you think that the sounds could be connected to the theory of a hollow Earth?
Okay, that is another really good question. Hollow Earth. We've been through this before, but I'll just do bullets. Our matter world, Earth, that is 8,000 miles in diameter, 25,000 miles around, 2/3 deep water, and the rest crustal land. It's not hollow, not at the center. It's a huge, gigantic crystal iron ball, 2/3 the diameter of the moon. When you look at a full moon, imagine 2/3 that size is inside the center of our planet. And surrounding that huge crystal ball, and they call it iron crystal because under the huge pressure, the molecules and the atoms, they're coming together at different angles than iron on top of the surface. So they call it a big iron crystal ball. And it turns inside of what metaphorically might be like a lake or a river of melted iron with some nickel in it. And that's the dynamo. That's what geophysicists call the dynamo. You get this big iron crystal going one way, and it's in liquid that's going another, and boy, you've got magnetic fields generated that are so powerful, and it comes up through the Earth, and that's where we get the Van Allen belts and all of the other magnetic fields that really protect and allow this planet to have the surface life that it does. But there is a growing body of communication that has been coming to me and to others through whistleblowers, even experiencers, that, to quote that Defense Intelligence Agency analyst who talked to me for 7 hours in December 1999 and started out at this level, Linda, our government, meaning the United States, has proof that 3 competing, in conflict, extraterrestrial civilizations have been interacting with Earth, terraforming, and harvesting genetic material to make all sorts of genetic forms, containers, for at least 270 million years. I think that what he was telling me is absolutely the truth. And he was talking about 3 competing civilizations. I think it's becoming clear that there have been other intelligences, perhaps very sophisticated pyramid builders, that could be going back 500 million, 1 billion years in this solar system and beyond. But even if you just start at 270 million years ago, sophisticated civilizations who wanted to deal with this planet in this solar system, in this tiny arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Why? And the answer he gives is because this planet is looked at as a laboratory because it has all this water. It is within 93 million miles of the sun, so it's in a orbit in which it's not too frozen unless something extraordinary happens, or too hot unless something extraordinary happens, and that it wobbles around in this path with all this water. If you look at the exoplanets, I believe we're now coming, it's way over 4,000. We're in the thousands of exoplanets that astronomers and astrophysicists keep reporting about. So far to date, none has been proven to be like this planet. The Garden of Eden becomes a metaphor for what the DIA analysts said, that competing ET civilizations looked at this planet as a laboratory. I think of gardens as being sort of a laboratory in which to plant and raise a variety of life forms for a variety of reasons. And that may be the true nature of our planet. Okay, so now, if that's true, what else did he tell me that relates exactly to your question? He said, our government also caught on that those three competing civilizations know how to work planets, moons, anything that's round as spherical geometry, and that they can aim technology at whatever body they're interested in. They don't get just the surface. Our experience with Earth as human beings is usually just the surface crust, wherever we can live. No, these beings are looking at the entire Earth, the huge oceans and the seas and the bays and the land and the iron crystal core, everything. And in that, the way he put it, when you get up above the crystal sphere and that lake of melted iron, and you get into magma, and the magma could go from hot to being mild, and then you get up to this tiny thin crust, all land living creatures on this planet, including humans. I'm not talking about marine life, I'm talking about land. The land average crust on our planet ranges between like 5 miles in some places to 15 miles, not much more than 25 miles anywhere. And it's 8,000 miles in diameter. Look at all that is underneath that thin crust. And the DIA analyst told me, we are dealing with intelligences who know how to occupy spaces and caverns that are below the basins of the oceans and the seas. And he said, think about it. He said, if you know how to occupy all of the spaces beneath the basins of the oceans and the seas, you have 2/3 of Earth. The crustal life has about 1/3. So, who exactly is now in 2019 occupying Earth? We have thousands of years of relationship to the surface. What we've been denied information about is how advanced intelligences using spherical geometry analysis can have places inside our planet, inside our moon, inside Mars, who knows where all. They can live inside of bodies. And that's when Jacques Vallée used to say, the UFO phenomena is too common. It happens too much around the planet for it to be, quote unquote, classic extraterrestrials going back and forth, like commuting from someplace else in the Milky Way galaxy or beyond to our planet. He said, no, it doesn't make sense. Well, when you take this lens, that the Earth is being used as a huge laboratory and has been for 270 million years at least, and that these are intelligences who know to go down into areas that humans have no access to, and we don't cross each other wherever we are, but that allows them to interact with us on the surface in invisibility, holograms, androids, clones, camouflage, all of it. And suddenly the centuries of Earth, the hauntings, the lights, the balls of light, all of it, what John Keel called our haunted planet, begins to come into focus, that we have had other intelligences cohabiting with the surface life on this planet, as he said, for at least 270 million years. Well, should we be afraid? I don't see why. I'd really love to get to a point where we could just meet whoever it is that lives wherever they live in other places below our crust. And in the moon, I have talked now with at least half a dozen people who have described for me from their eyes what's inside our moon was there before we ever did the Apollo program. And that Mars, we will find that there is either ancient civilization, archaeology, or active underground bases already on Mars. And the list goes on. And one of the things that fuels me in my work is that I truly do think that all of you on the other side of that lens and all the rest of the world, that we need to be taught, and we need to be taught soon, what is the truth about our planet and why surface wars are insane. Because you and I and Homo sapiens sapien, we need each other to survive. And on that note, I'll see you next week.